And they go out rioting and hitting and doing all things. And these people were people who were born from 1990 and 1980 on. Yeah. And those people, when you reincarnate, if you look at people who were born in the 1920s and the 1910s, they would die around 1980, 1990. Those are people who were in the SS. Yeah? Those are people who fought in that war, either one side or the other. But they fought and died in that war. Yeah? And there's no way when you go there and die, fight, those people reincarnate from the 40s. And they come back, And they try and make a better scenario. There's no way I want to do this, because a lot of the people who fought against it. Yeah? So they come back as hippies, peace-loving hippies. They come back as beatniks. They come back as desiring to be artists. Anything but go to war. Anything but war. So there was the first group of people who came back from the time of that cycle. When they came back, the first ones who died in the war came back with enough paying off of bullshit of having to go there and go through that shit. So when they came back, they had this extra amount of love that was able to get through shit and do things and want to do things and they started studying Buddhism and Hinduism and alternative religions and yoga. Yeah, and not Satanism. Yeah, they really wanted to expand their horizon in finding the soul and attaining more soul. So those people who were born in the 50s, the masses, largest masses of people on earth who were born, are an enormous large group of people who are more enlightened than the people who got away with it. Yeah. The people who were in the SS and joined the Catholic Church and became priests, went to, Argentina and other Spain and other locations and lived there as previous SS officers, but now with priest robes and everything, and they get away with it. And they become pedophiles, and they become perverts, and they become horrifying scenarios inside of the Catholic Church because they created more processes of being possessed. It's a group, a collective body, of people who were in their previous lives possessed, did things that were possessed, came back possessed. So this is the 80s. By the time the 80s and the 90s come in, these people are coming and they're angry. And they have no interest in social norm. And they want to blame everybody for the circumstances they're in, rather than think of reincarnation and they're the ones who did it. Yeah, not somebody else. But we all reincarnate, and we all need to change our ways so we can make this a better place. But this group who held out lies, and conned their way through life, and then finally died, in the 80s and the 70s. When they reincarnate, they really think they've got it, and they don't feel obligated to any kind of political system of any sort, So they end up in Seattle, they end up in the LBGD, they end up in all these different groups. And they're strong. Their process of their desire body is strong because they're a group. They were military before. They were Heil Hitler before. They had reasons and tyranny and other things, and they went up against socialism. They went up against tyranny. They were crazy, thinking only evil existed. And they were representatives of evil who were fighting other forms of evil, competing against each other. Just like all the dictators of the time. There were more dictators on earth at their time than ever before in history. And there's a reason, because they come as a group. They come and go as group. So we need to do something about this, people. There are millions of people out there with tattoos up and down, coming up to their nose and around their neck. There's people out there who think that they're boys who think they're girls and girls who think they're boys, and people going on the in-between. Yeah? And they're recruiting little children, and those little children, they're not so much as a recruit, but a reincarnation of the previous group that just died, who were also people who lived in the earlier stages but died of AIDS and died of other means through their perversion. And then they reincarnate, and they're very young in their process of knowing this is the kind of person I am. Yeah? And they're very prideful and it's all about pride. And pride is the root of evil. Pride is what comes out of Satan and Lucifer. Pride. You talk to Jesus, you don't ask him, how about your pride, you know? Don't you have any pride? You go on a cross? Don't you have any pride? You know, can't you stand up against this? You know? That essence of what is known as pride is the delusion of grandeur that comes from hate and selfishness. Yeah? So all these reincarnates come with their leader. Yeah? Hitler was amongst the group. Yeah? Mussolini is amongst the group. And if you study it and understand it, you know, we've got an enormous number of people amongst this group. North Korea, Vietnam, Japan, China, Spain. There were a bunch of dictators over the last 2 to 3 generations. Yeah? And they have groups because that's how they become dictators. And if you look at the Trump situation, it is a conspiracy as a cult. They're not even Republicans. They're Trumpans, you know? They're totally Trumpians, you know? They're not involved, oh, those Republicans might be okay, but if they don't agree with Trump, we're not along with them. We're in our own thing, yeah? And that's where now you're sticking to, oh, no, I follow Hitler. I follow Mussolini. These are personalities that you follow, and that's showing the signs of extreme weak reincarnation. And their leader is reincarnated.
Oh.